Hey everyone, it's the beginning of June in South Australia, and that can mean only one thing. It's state budget time. So, what new road projects have been announced, and what's the price tag on the Torrens to Darlington project for the coming year? Stay tuned for those numbers. Welcome to Development Adelaide, episode 9. In today's episode, I'll be reviewing the latest state budget for the year 25-26 and drawing out some insights from the data. I cover new initiatives, the top 10 infrastructure projects, and what's ahead transport-wise for 25-26, and reviewing how Adelaide Metro performed in the latest patronage data. All right, let's jump right into it. And here are the 6 most important projects that were covered in the budget. And when I mean important, apart from the first 3 projects, it was slim pickings this year, which I'll get into a little bit later in the video. First up, the High Productivity Vehicle Network, which is also known as the Greater Adelaide Bypass. Here on the screen, you can see the current layout of the Swanport Bridge in Murray Bridge, which is set to be duplicated under this project. The Truro Bypass is also back to improve the Sturt Highway, and upgrades to the road network between the Southeastern Freeway and the Sturt Highway will connect the 2 sectors together. Once this project is completed, less traffic will have to travel down the Southeastern Freeway into Metro Adelaide, especially benefiting the freight movements. While the project is not fully funded, I believe the state government will continue to negotiate with the federal government to secure a higher share of the funding for this project. The staging is yet to be revealed. Major works won't start until 2027, so there's still plenty of time for more negotiation between the parties. Moving on, project number 2 is the $250 million Curtis Road Crossing Removal Project in Manapara. This project will separate the road traffic from the Gawler line to allow better road access to the new housing areas around Angle Vale and Playford Alive. This project will fix a problem that's been bugging the northern suburbs for years. Major works should start in around late 2026. The next project is the Main South Road safety upgrade between Moponga and Yankalilla. This includes some safety upgrades as well as additional overtaking lanes on the way to Cape Jervis and Kangaroo Island. Work should start in around 2026 as well for that one. Fourth on the list is the Curtis Road and Heaslip Road roundabout, again assisting those new housing developments around Angle Vale. This is followed by the Port of Augusta Wharf upgrade and some additional heavy vehicle rest areas around the National Highway network. As you can see, slim pickings this year. All right, that's what's coming up, but how are the existing infrastructure projects performing? Let's take a look at the top 10 transport and infrastructure projects sorted by cost. Starting off at number 10, the Majors Road on-off ramps. This year, the project has overspent its budget, possibly due to a lack of rain affecting construction progress. So they've been able to actually do more work than they expected to. So the works are progressing well, and I expect the ramps to be open by around about Christmas, with final touches wrapping up by June 2027. At number 9, the Adelaide Aquatic Centre saw a slight underspend this year. There's still plenty of work ahead for the expected summer opening, with $44 million yet to be spent. Number 8 is the Adelaide Hills Road upgrades. Again, we're seeing a slight underspend this year, with major investments set for the new financial year. On the screen, you'll notice a map highlighting the key upgrades, including safety improvements on roads like Main Road in Chandlers Hill. At number 7, the Strzelecki track has also experienced an underspend this year, likely due to the heavy flooding in recent months, which pushed back the road project's completion by an additional year. At number 6, the Southeastern Freeway upgrade, which includes the recently completed Hasten Tunnel upgrade. Still to come on this project involves converting the remainder of the Glen Osmond to Crayfus route into a managed motorway. You can check my recently uploaded video about the freeway on my channel. Unfortunately, delays have pushed this completion date back to 2029. Number 5 is the Marion and Crossroad tram crossing removal, on track to be completed in 2027, with major works slated over the next 8 months. Expected tram closures in the later half of the year, with construction wrapping up by January next year. And if you're wondering about the Morford Road and South Road overpasses, they're part of the Torrance to Darlington project. More on that later. Number 4 is the Freight Highway Upgrade, a long-term project aimed at adding overtaking lanes, resurfacing and implementing critical safety upgrades along the state's key freight corridors. Completion remains a distant target at the moment, with upgrades rolling out in several stages. And number 3, we've got a package project, the Augusta duplication, along with the upgrades to the Mount Barker and Verdun junctions on the Southeastern Freeway. The Augusta Highway segment between Port Wakefield and Lochiel is already complete, leaving the Mount Barker and Verdun junctions left to be completed to boost capacity for freight and commuters. The upgraded interchange at Mount Barker is seen here on the screen. At number 2, the Fleurieu Connections project is nearing completion. This project has seen the duplication of Victor Harbour Road between Seaford and McLaren Vale, and Main South Road between Seaford and Sellex Beach. $190 million has been spent over the past year, and by the end, 16 kilometres of Main South Road and 4 kilometres of Victor Harbour Road will offer faster and safer travel. I'll be sharing a progress update on this in coming weeks, so stay tuned to the channel. And finally, the elephant in the room, the Torrance to Darlington project, is of course at number 1. Last year, a staggering $1.2 billion was allocated for purchasing properties, initiating necessary network upgrades, and starting construction on tunnel boring portals. To put that into perspective, most prior South Road projects cost that much in total. And if you thought that was monumental, an even larger $2.2 billion is budgeted for the next financial year. So, if you're wondering why no other big projects have been announced in the budget, here's the reason. This project will essentially absorb money, labour, and materials for the next 5 to 6 years. It's a transformative project, but it will undoubtedly strain the state's resources for that period. All right, now that the big boys are out of the way, let's quickly look at some smaller projects that have caught my eye. So, the Adelaide railway station upgrade was announced at the last state budget, most of which involves waterproofing the existing station. You might have noticed that as soon as it rains, the buckets come out at the station. Initially, this project was supposed to have been completed by now, but unforeseen delays suggest that the original timetable might have been overly optimistic. The project is now scheduled for completion in 2027. When I asked the department why it was delayed, I got a response of the Department of Infrastructure and Transport is undertaking progressive improvements at Adelaide's railway station, including plaza-level drainage repairs. Unfortunately, that doesn't really shed much light on why the project is delayed. So, again, the original deadline might have just been too ambitious. The other project that caught my eye was the Seaford Automated Train Protection Project. This has been delayed by yet another year after the same thing happened in the last budget. Again, I asked the department why this project kept getting delayed, with a spokesperson responding with, in 2013, the Seaford line was the first line on the Adelaide Metro Rail network to have automatic train protection system infrastructure installed. This infrastructure is now being upgraded to deliver faster journeys for train passengers and improve traffic flow across the road network by reducing ring times at level crossings. Work has started on the $10 million project, which is expected to be completed in late 2026. So again, this project has faced another year's delay, a recurring theme from these improvements, possibly due to a persistent shortage of qualified professionals to finalise that work. So we'll have to stay tune for this one and keep an eye on it in the next budget. Finally, there are two projects that will become very interesting before the state election in March next year. The first is the Adelaide and Regional Rail Network Extensions project, with a completion date of January 2026. With the state election in March fast approaching, these initiatives could become major campaign talking points for both parties. Interestingly, only half of the budget has been utilised for that planning phase of the project, which means that there's a race against time over the next 6 months to get that planning finalised. And the same goes with the Adelaide Metro Fleet Decarbonisation Planning Project for both rail and bus fleets. Now, will they announce more battery buses? Is there a plan to buy new battery trains for the Belair Grange, Outer Harbour and Port Dock lines? Watch this space. Now, let's dive into what's coming up in the year ahead. Firstly, the government will resume the operation of the tram network, which was an election promise at the last state election. There's also a review of the regional bus public transport network and completion of the public transport strategic plan. Fulfilling a promise that was made by the Transport Minister several years ago, an improved Gawler line timetable will hopefully be implemented in the next 12 months. And there will also be a start of the introduction of more battery buses into the network, with a total of 60 buses expected over the next 12 months. And there'll also be some additional compliance officers in the system to make the network safer. In response to rising cost of living pressures, the student MetroCard 28-day pass is being slashed from $28.60 to just $10. More on that in just a moment. The budget also includes significant investments in resurfacing and rehabilitation for both urban and rural roads, along with the completion of the Mount Barker mass transit business case. I'm still trying to pin down whether this focuses more on the rail services or the new express bus options that have recently come to Mount Barker, so we'll have to get that clarified. Looking back at student fares, in the year 2000, a single trip on a 10-trip ticket cost just 65 cents. And over the past 25 years, fares have steadily increased. With the new initiative cutting the 28-day pass to just $10, the cost per trip drops to an unprecedented 25 cents, the lowest in decades. That's quite significant. Now, let's take a look at how the Adelaide Metro network fared over the last 12 months. Frankly, performance has been pretty flat. The targets haven't been met, leading to a revision of expectations for the coming financial year. Traffic congestion is worsening too, because Adelaide travel speeds along the arterial roads have dropped from 35 kilometres an hour to 34.6, with projections for next year dropping further to 34.2 kilometres an hour. However, on the bright side, Adelaide Metro has bolstered its bus fleet by actually adding 10 new buses over the last year. Finally, some positive movements in the midst of other challenges. The previous drop-off was mostly related to bus tech facing financial difficulties and the department being forced to look for a new bus builder. All right, that wraps up this year's budget special. Which of these projects are you most excited about? And how do you think Adelaide Metro can really step up its game to attract more riders? Drop your comments and thoughts in the comment section below. You can also follow me on Twitter for the latest news for all things development, transport and infrastructure around Adelaide. Bye for now.